ready to begin.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
One moment, please. I'm just getting it all finished up.
Okay.
Hi, Madam Chair. We are recording and broadcasting. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. Good morning, everyone. This is Tuesday, November 30th, 9 o'clock, a special meeting of the Cambria Community Services District. And this is the call to order. All directors are present. And we can move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Buckle, thank you. Would you join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And we have a quorum available. And we'll move on to item 2, which is public comment on agenda items. I will be taking the public comment on agenda items after the agenda is introduced, because I want the public to have the opportunity to be able to hear the presentation material from staff. So we'll be taking the public comment at that time. And what we will do is move on to regular business then. And GM Weichel, would you introduce the item, please?
Yes, President Stidel. Agenda item 3A is discussion and consideration of using Proposition 68 per capita program funding for the East Ranch restroom project. Staff recommends that the board discuss and consider the use of Proposition or Prop 68 per capita program funding for the East Ranch restroom project. We outlined the use of the Prop 68 funding in our last special meeting, but this is a state program that requires application by the end of the year. There are a number of requirements. There's 11 item checklist that's listed in the guidance, the procedural guide, and we gave you a copy of that in the revised package, but it's also the link is included as part of the staff report. That procedural guide outlines a number of important issues, such as obligating the board passing a resolution to obligate all the funds for the project. We've got both the district engineer, Ray Dienzo, standing by. Monty Soto from Civil Design Engineer is here, as well as Pam Duffield, our finance manager, to give a short presentation to revisit, one, the project, and then two, the financing requirements for that. And then Monty Soto is here to answer any more detailed questions regarding the project and how he priced the project in general. So pending your questions, President Stidel and board, I'll pass it over to Ray Dienzo for a short.
All right. And just for the people who may have joined us for the meeting today, my intention is to take public comment after the presentation so that everyone has full knowledge and familiarity with the items as a whole that the staff will be presenting. And I will indicate that as a reminder that what we're talking about here is the bathroom. So I don't know who would prefer to go first in the presentation material, Mr. Danzo, you or Ms. Duffield?
Well, I can go ahead and start. Thank you, President Stidel. So I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I will share my screen because I wanted to just remind the board and the public just the scope of the project and what the project is proposed to look like on the East-West Ranch. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So, so I hope that you're seeing. I hope that you're seeing a picture of one of the plans. Is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay, good. So an overall plan of where the bathroom is going to be situated. As you can see, there's this plan shows where the parking lot is at the moment existing, and then the project will consist of a path leading to this restroom area as shown here. As stated in the staff report, a lot of coordination was done with the pros committee regarding the orientation of the bathroom and the size and what it would look like, and the requirements relating to all of the grading around the bathroom. There's a path around it and a path leading up to it, all of which are ADA compliant. As far as the picture of the schematic of the bathroom, this is what it's proposed to look like. It's about a 20 by 10 foot size bathroom, has 2 all gender stalls, and that's what it's proposed to look like. And it's going to be a pre-manufactured restroom that's going to be placed on that site that I showed before. And this, by the way, was just a presentation that Monty presented to you from the October 14th board. So nothing has changed as far as the design of this restroom. And also the price of the cost estimate was also shared with your board on October 14th as well. That price of $351,480 is the current estimate, and it's also stated in the staff report. I mean, it's incorporated in the staff report. This actual line number is not there, but it is incorporated in because we split it up, the restroom and all of the additional project costs surrounding the development of the restroom site. So that's the project. The overall of the project, you know, it's situated here at the East-West Ranch. If you remember in your mind's eye, there's a fence line with a gate. That's about where it's going to be placed. We have utilities there, both sewer and water utilities. We propose to use potable water for the flushing toilets, but I mean potable water for the sinks and drinking fountains. But we will have non-potable for the restroom, for the actual toilet flushing, and any urinals if we have it. So that is the project. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, and Pam is just going to explain the whole financial breakdown.
Okay, thank you, Mr. D'Anzo. Good morning, Ms. Duffield.
Good morning, President Stidel, members of the board. So I'll just make my presentation quick as well. And as Ray, our utility manager, D'Anzo, didn't have a PowerPoint, neither do I for this particular board item. So if you look on page 3 of your packet, you can see the outline of current funding sources for the project and estimated project costs. As we've talked about in the past, and your board approved a grant from the County of San Luis Obispo. That's a beautification improvement grant. That is what BIG stands for. And there is currently $20,000 that is in the current year's budget for that offset of that expenditure for the design of the project. That is the only thing that is currently budgeted for this project, is the design and the offsetting grant. So in order to go forward with this project and apply for the Prop 68 grant funding, the board would need to fully appropriate all the funding surrounding this project. So if you look at the second part of the table, the missing pieces there are the estimated costs of the project. It was broken down into the pre-manufactured restroom per your presentation earlier, and the additional costs that were outlined for the project that would be needed. So that is where it stands. There's a deficit currently of $173,528. That would need to be fully budgeted. And those requirements for the grant, if you are interested in looking at what is required, since we've talked about this form multiple occasions, the actual form that we're required to submit is on page 25 of your packet. And that we have to assure that all of our funding is listed along with the date it was committed, means the date that it was budgeted and approved by the board, along with the dollar amount. So those are the requirements to submit the grant on the financial side of the table. And that is all I really wanted to point out to the board. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I do have one question before we go forward, and in the funding sources, the SLO County grant, that I know that the requirements are that we provide a 20% contribution against the funds that were available on the Prop 68. So how is that $20,000 in the design grant that we had? Does that factor into it at all in terms of the contribution, or do we still, is our contribution is somehow more than anything else that's represented here?
So no, any grant or any outside source of funding that we have can count towards that match requirement.
Okay.
And the match is 20% of the total project cost. So we're responsible to have that in funding.
All right. If there's some questions to be answered by board members before we would move to public comment, I will take those. So let me see. Director Gray.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, President Steidel. I had a question probably for Ms. Duffield, maybe for Tim Carmel, but regarding that county grant of $20,000, are there any conditions on it having to complete the project or doing anything other than design work, or having done the design work, do we have no further obligations to the county under that grant?
We have no further obligation in the grant. We've submitted our final report to the county. That was due already.
Okay, thank you.
And the grant was specifically, we applied for design costs only, and that's what the grant covered.
Okay, thank you.
Director Dean.
Okay, so the amount that we have to encumber, should we decide to go forward, is it the full $371,480, or is it the deficit of $173,528? And I have a second question. Can you confirm for me that this is a reimbursement grant? This is not a check that's going to be given to us for $177,952. This is money that we will be reimbursed for as the project moves along, with part of the money being withheld at the end until the entire project is complete. Is that the way this works?
Okay, so the first part of your question is we're responsible for the board to budget the entire project. So that would include budgeting for the grant that we're assuming that would come from Prop 68. So your budget adjustment to the board would look like revenue of 177,952,000, and then general fund of 173,528,000 out of reserves. And then the offset to that would be fully budgeting the project. It would be 371 less the 20,000 that has already been budgeted, is what we'd have to budget for capital expenditures to augment the current budget of 20,000. So the second part of your question is, yes, it is a reimbursable grant. So the moment that the grant is, if the grant is to be executed, the moment that it's executed, the district does not receive a check for the full grant amount. We have to submit what is called like a progress payment, is basically what we're going to submit to them and get our costs reimbursed. So we do have to front the money and then wait, submit to them eligible costs, and then they reimburse us.
Okay, thank you.
So I hope that answers your question, both of your questions.
Thank you.
Director Farmer?
Thank you, President Stidel. So I just, I want some I'd like some clarification here, please. So when General Manager Weigold introduced this item, he mentioned that we'd be discussing the financing requirements. And then Ms. Duffield, in the last few minutes or so, I want to quote her in two areas. She said the district needs to, quote, fully appropriate all funding, unquote. And then she also said, quote, board needs to fund entire project, unquote. Yet if I go to the agenda item description under fiscal impact, it says there is no financial impact associated with this item. Am I misunderstanding something here?
Well, Ms. Duffield, I don't know whether you want to address that or the general manager wants to address it in terms of financial impact and the way the term is used.
I can address that. So basically this staff report is providing information to the board to determine if you're going to request staff to proceed with applying for the Prop 68 grant for the restroom. If your board provides that direction to staff to proceed with application, we would need to come back to the board with a resolution per the grant requirement and a budget adjustment to fully fund the project. This board action does not include a budget adjustment because we as staff have not had that direction from your board. So hopefully that answers Director Farmer's question, because for receiving this report, there is no financial impact.
The financial impact doesn't happen until the resolution is voted on by the board.
Well, the financial impact would happen at the time, it really becomes evident at the time that your board provides direction to staff. And that's what we said later in the recommendation, in the conclusion, that we wanted direction from your board on proceeding with the project.
So Director Farmer, what we're doing is proceeding.
I understand what's happening here.
Well, no, there's nothing nefarious happening. What we're doing is proceeding in a legal manner, and the district isn't encumbered until a resolution is passed.
I understand the explanation. Thank you.
Well, I hope that addresses the question then. All right, with no further questions from the directors, we'll move on then to public comment. And I believe Haley, you're helping us today. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you. I do have some written comments to read. Would you like to take those first?
Let's take the public comment first, and then we'll take the written. Thank you.
Okay, the first member of public that wishes to speak is Margaret Perez. Margaret, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As a dog owner, I would like you to consider that many other dog owners that I have spoken to, just like me, do not feel like we need a bathroom at the dog park. Most of us, anybody here in town that has a dog, we're less than 5 minutes from our home. So the need is not there. The Prop 68 project priorities is to expand outdoor public access, protection and improvement of natural resources, production and revitalization of working lands, increase climate resiliency. The bathroom does not meet any of that project priorities. However, the skate park does. It expands outdoor public access, in particular to support diversity, equity, and inclusion, which means the children of Cambria. They are an underrepresented group. And when we look at
Ms. Perez, I apologize for interrupting you, but we can only address the bathroom. We cannot.
Okay.
We cannot address the issues related to the skate park. We've already taken formal action on the skate park, and what we're addressing today is the bathroom. So your comments regarding the bathroom are certainly appreciated, and you're welcome to continue with those if you choose.
Yes, I will. So what I am saying is that most of us who have dogs here in town do not need a bathroom. And they do have a portable bathroom right now, but no one uses it. So why would we need to put money, and especially all the funds that you're going to be having to augment the deficit because you don't have enough money with just the 68 project priorities grant, and you may not even get it because you're not meeting any of the priorities. So I'm not really clear why you as our representatives would vote to put on this land a bathroom that we don't need when we have so many other needs in this community. That is not one of the priorities for Cambria. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next member of the public that wishes to speak is Elizabeth Bettenhausen, and she also submitted a written comment. Elizabeth, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. I just need to switch here to my email, which I sent to you directors yesterday, a bit belatedly, but I didn't get the agenda till then. I want to read this quickly to you. I'm glad that my first comment about the mislabeling of the date for the Pros Commission was changed. So thank you very much, staff. I appreciate that. And I want to say that the action before you today is perhaps, let me say perhaps, a bit premature. I was listening to NPR this morning, and unfortunately, the financial situation, I've lost the picture totally. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'll just keep. Oh, there you appear. Pop on the screen. Hallelujah. I want to speak quickly since I've used up so much of my 3 minutes muddledly. The NPR report this morning, the stock market's down 500. That's not a US situation, that is a global situation. And we are in financial trouble, no matter how big the reserves might be in your pocket, board of directors. But I want to say that I submitted to you a possible resolution, a motion for you to adopt today. You have no resolution before you. The worst thing that could happen, in my estimation, is that you pass a motion today telling the board to go ahead, and then it has to come back to you as an actual resolution for adoption or not. That would be a stunning waste of time. None of us has diarrhea that bad at the dog park. And I ask you to respect the function of the restroom. It's not a bathroom, it's a toilet. And if you want to spend this amount of money, I would guess over 200,000 eventually, certainly on maintenance, including maintenance. If you want to spend that much money right now in this town, given the situation of the financial seriousness, the pandemic, the situation of the climate crisis, I will be totally and completely, I guarantee you, finally perfect in my inability to understand you. So please do not tell the staff to apply for Prop 68 for this project. It's not worth it. And you could spend much of your time on a much better project, I assure you, perhaps even council costs coming up for the lawsuits, which you often bring up. So thank you very much. I look forward to this, and I certainly will flip over to the Board of Supervisors. It's that kind of day, isn't it? Thank you.
It is. Thank you, Dr. Bettenhausen.
The next member of the public that wishes to speak is Kitty Connolly.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Conley.
Good morning. So if the board votes to pursue the funding through Prop 68, Friends of the Fiscalini Ranch Preserve supports using that funding for restrooms on the East Ranch. Since General Manager Weigold brought this opportunity pros more than long ago, it has seemed like a funding that Cambria shouldn't let pass by. The community of Cambria has been waiting more than 20 years for construction of a community park projected to include multi-purpose playing fields, picnic grounds, a playground, trails, and the existing dog park. These amenities would serve children as well as adults. And I know memories in Cambria are long, so hopefully people remember that they want a community park. An essential first step in developing recreational facilities on the East Ranch is a restroom. This funding opportunity means it won't take many more years before the community park becomes a lively meeting place for Cambrians, and the East Ranch fulfills the purpose for which it was purchased by the community of Cambria. The funding amount available through Prop 68 would pay for a substantial portion of the restroom project, which has a robust budget, including a healthy 20% contingency. It's unlikely that Cambria would once again get an opportunity to take this step with so little local cost. The upfront work for the application is largely complete, and itself was funded by a grant. So that, I said, is speaking for the Friends of the Fiscalini Ranch Preserve. As a Cambrian resident, I think it would be a crying shame to not apply for this money. I understand that other projects are a higher priority, but if they are not appropriate for the funding, I think it would be just terrible to prevent other recreational projects being developed for the children of Cambria because it's not the highest priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conley.
Okay, the next member of the public that wishes to speak is Christine Heinrichs. Christine, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. And thank you for this change in taking public comment to allow the public to actually hear the item under discussion before commenting. The limitations previously imposed resulted in the public commenting on subjects that in the presentation of the item and board discussion were no longer relevant. I asked for an explanation as to why this meeting was called at all. As a procedural matter, the subject of finances should go to the Finance Committee. Why is the board circumventing its own process? Clearly, the board is taking action that will commit the district to funding pending the later official action, for which I thank Director Farmer for pointing out. Why does this require a second special meeting this month? The subject of Prop 68 funding has already been the subject of one special meeting. Why was this not discussed at a regular meeting? Calling a special meeting after a major 4-day holiday weekend and opposite an important county meeting suggests that board members would prefer to discuss this subject at a time when fewer of their critics will attend. Scheduling an important financial meeting for a time when few Cambrians will notice that their money is being misspent again is a favorite strategy of earlier boards. I hoped for better from the members of this board, but despite campaign promises of fiscal responsibility, you have all, with the exception of Harry Farmer, Cambria's champion, shown that you are pursuing some other agenda than the well-being of Cambria. At the last meeting, the board decided that the threat of financial costs after inflation by the staff was too high to allow the district to apply for funds to build the skate park, something that the community wants. To call a special meeting to discuss applying for funds to build the restrooms, which are at over $350,000, seriously overpriced, and which few in the community have any interest in, is absurd. If you take any action on the restrooms, get a second opinion on that cost. A local religious leader, Father Stetz, reminded you of your moral and spiritual obligation to Cambria's young people. Take this opportunity to direct staff to apply for funds to construct the skate park. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heinrichs. I will just take a moment to explain the reason for having another special meeting. This has to do with timing. This has to do with the fact that the full application and all documentation has to be made by December 31st of this year. And by the timing that our board meetings fall within, and with the holiday, it would have been impossible for us to even meet that deadline for any circumstance. So the use of the special meetings was the method in which that was approached. The reason the second special meeting has occurred is that we also have an obligation to make a decision today on either the application for the bathroom or to not use the Prop 68 funds at all. But we have to make that decision. That's part of our legal authority in responding to the initial application that we made to attain the Prop 68 funds. So that's the reasoning behind the meetings, and that's the reason they're occurring in the methods that they are. That, and we had no idea that the county was going to schedule its meeting for today as well. Haley, can we continue, please?
Yes, the next member of the public that wishes to speak is Tina Dickinson. Tina, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Haley. First of all, President Stidel, it has been noted that the two county meetings of late were November 19th and today, November 30th. That's been on the docket for ages. So to have it just suddenly come up on Sunday for your meeting doesn't make any sense at all. But I believe this was a preconceived, and I believe, in my opinion, it was manipulative, because how could you just 10 days ago on November 20th, turn down, vote against this same Prop 68 funding for the skate park, and now all of a sudden you want to use it for the restroom? I'm going to read to you the letter that I sent to you last night. Good evening, CCSD Board of Directors. It was with disgust and dismay that I read not only yesterday's posted agenda for tomorrow, because I wrote this last night, but also an amended agenda posted sometime today, which I wonder is within the Brown Act rules and regulations, for your consideration applying for Prop 68 grant funding to cover 50% of the estimated costs of a restroom facility on the East Ranch. After you voted 4-1, and in paren, Director Farmer being the nay vote, end of paren, on November 20th, against applying for the same Proposition 68 grant funding mechanism to support funding of the Main Street Skate Park, you now turn around to consider a last-minute effort to apply for funding a restroom facility on the East Ranch, which will require, according to your estimates, almost $174,000 from the general fund to pay for it. Since there are no recreational facilities, save a dog park on the East Ranch, where there is a porta potty, this reeks of political maneuvering, in my opinion, not to mention a slap in the face to the Skate Cambria group, who has made a heroic effort in helping to fund the Main Street Skate Park. The Pros Commission, I would imagine, may feel some disappointment as well. I really don't understand elected officials who say they represent all of us, and I would say the youth in this community, but in my opinion, fail miserably in attempting to do so. This is just one more of your failures as a board. You have absolutely failed this community, and here we go again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dickinson.
Okay, the next member of the public that wishes to speak is Chelsea Foster. Chelsea, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I just wanted to say I'm happy to have the chance to hear the deliberations yet again today on this Prop 68. I was under the impression, along with many other Cambrians, that this grant was originally allocated as a recreation funding, and that if matched funding was achieved, then it would be granted. Sticking to the point of the grant itself, I wanted to say, it's been asked many times previous, what the actual master plan is. It seems evident, and although it is just an assumption, many people have expressed themselves wanting some clarity as to what the end game truly is for the East-West Ranch. A porta potty has been sufficient at the dog park, although the porta potty would not be sufficient at the skate park. A very expensive golden toilet, toilet that needs to go over at the dog park clearly has more attached to it. How and when will this information be made public? And so that the city at large and the county can stop scratching their head as to why the funds keep getting tossed around like a hot potato, which of course makes people feel like there's misappropriation and other issues. In terms of keeping some legitimacy and some, credit for this board at large, I would encourage that transparency to come forward. And I say that with ultimate respect of all the work that has been done and all the entities at play. It's no secret that we want this prop to go to the skate park, but sitting on the issue of today, that it's getting moved quickly through to the toilet, we would just like to know why, because it clearly isn't necessary for a dog park. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Haley?
Okay, I have no members of the public raising their hands wishing to speak. So would you like me to read the written comments?
Yes, as long as they're not duplications of people who've already spoken.
Yeah, the only one that I did receive is regarding the skate park for today's meeting. Would you like me to still read that one?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We've finished with the business on that, so.
Okay, that was from Tig Morales. Okay, the first written comment is from Cheryl McDowell. Good morning, please read my comments. Based on being a frequent visitor of the doggy park, I have observed the following. No one uses the portable toilet, which is in place near the handicap parking, nor have I seen any directors been present or the general manager or staff observe what goes on there. A yes vote to move forward to spend ratepayers' money on a worthless project will only provoke this community. The area is too remote and you're inviting crime. I ask this board to nix this idea and not apply for Parks and Water Bond Act of 2018 Proposition 68. Funding for new restrooms on the east section of the Fiscalini Ranch Preserve. Cheryl McDowell. The next written comment is from Mahala Burton, CCSD Board and General Manager. I am opposed to the use of CCSD reserve monies to fund a bathroom on the East Ranch. I have included a well report explaining why Santa Rosa Creek well number 1 should not be used by a bathroom, even though you are currently considering it non-potable water. Well number 1 could be activated in the future and necessary as part of our portable water supply. The ranch EIR does not allow potable water to be used for a bathroom. Furthermore, why do we need a bathroom? Who will it serve? It seems the East Ranch Community Park is only a dog park with no plans for a skate park or soccer fields or anything else. There are complaints the road in and out is rutted and the parking lot is in disrepair. A use for reserve funds could be to bring the lemur tank current on all maintenance and paint it and make the upgrades in the CIP list. It seems we are not following the strategic plan where it states about everything the CCSD is responsible for is underfunded. Regards, Mahala Burton. And the next written comment is from Jim Berenger. Please apply general funds to complete the bathroom project on the East Ranch. The bathroom is essential for additional development. The Prop 68 funds will effectively provide a discount on the much needed projects supporting the many uses of the area. Persons of all ages will benefit. Parking is sufficient and further use and activity will increase the visibility of the park. Regards, Jim Berenger. And let me just check the inbox, and I have no other comments to read at this time.
Okay. I will respond for just a moment to Mahala Burton's questions regarding the other actions that we could be taking with money. Please recognize that what we're talking about here are monies that come from the general fund, and the references that were made in the questions that were being asked by Ms. Burton regarding the CIP list in Lamert are applications of funds from different sources than the general fund. It comes from enterprise funds or water and wastewater funds. So there's not an application. It's a separate application source. And so I just wanted to qualify that. All right. I'd like to bring it back to the board then. And Vice President Howell.
Thank you. I'm just hoping for some clarification. If someone can clarify for me, it's my understanding that the CCSD has certain obligations regarding developing the East Ranch for active recreation, although I'm not absolutely certain what that obligation is. And it's also my understanding that in order to do any further development on the East Ranch, it's a county requirement that we have a restroom, not a porta potty. So can somebody in the know kind of enlighten me on those two items, please?
Can I answer
Mr.
that?
Soto.
Yeah, so when I was in with the county getting the original, phase 1 of the dog park approved and permitted, and we almost slid through, I shouldn't use say that word. We were on the very last stages of approval, and a question came up about something unrelated, and it went to a new plan checker, and he looked at the plan and he said, "You can't do this dog park without a bathroom." And we dove into the building code. We looked for other examples, and the point of my story here is that we barely slid by without installing a bathroom for the phase 1 project. And that's just because the building code does not specifically list a dog park as a use that requires a bathroom. But the county made it very clear that any other use of this project, of this site, would require a bathroom. So like a play area, sports fields, anything that any sort of recreation additional to what we have requires a bathroom. So hopefully that answers the question.
No, appreciate that. Thank you. Vice President Howell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Soto. That did answer part of my question. But the other question is, it seems to me that, and as this is where we may need somebody who's a little more knowledgeable, it seems to me that when the CCSD took over the responsibilities for the East-West Ranch, it did in fact enter into an agreement to develop the East Ranch as active recreation. Can someone correct me or enlighten me on that? That's my impression, but I haven't found any documents or anything else that would support that position, but it is my understanding. So I just need to be enlightened on that part too.
So Jim Wiggaldis or someone from staff, you feel that can address that, or you?
Well, I cannot address the actual requirement from that initial purchase, but the district has had 2 significant studies conducted, which resulted in plans for the East Ranch development. None of that can go forward without a restroom. So this is the linchpin for doing anything else with that property over there. And so we spent a lot of time working on this, as Monty Soto just outlined, a lot of discussions with the county. We have a plan that's been updated twice, the most recently in 2009. For anybody watching and for the board, you can find the community park plan under the Fiscalini Ranch link on our website. It's a pretty significant plan that outlines a lot of projects over there for the community. Yeah, it's a dirt road right now. Yeah, there's only a dog park there, but the vision for the future is a robust community park with ball fields, workout facilities. The dog park's just one step in that large project, but none of that can happen without this restroom. So, and the board should also know that this was on one of the top 3 projects from the Pros Commission. This was up until last year their #1 choice. So we didn't, the collective CCSD didn't just come up with this out of thin air. This was a project that's been looked at for some time. It may not be on radar for everyone out there, but this is really a linchpin going forward. So I'm sorry, I don't think that really addressed your question, Vice President Howell, but I know Carlos is on the line. He may have further information.
I was just going to ask if that might be the case. I don't know whether. Good morning, Carlos.
Hi, good morning, board. Vice President Howell. Yes, so when the Fiscalini Ranch was being discussed as possibly being purchased by the community, there was a great need for parks, and the county saw that need. They actually invested into the purchase of the Fiscalini Ranch $500,000, 500,000, with the requirement that the CCSD utilize the eastern part of the ranch to build a community park at some point. So there is an agreement that we have with the county that at some point we develop that area for the community.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mendoza. I appreciate that. Let's say Director Farmer, you had your hand up first.
Thank you, President Stidel. I appreciate the fact that Carlos just pretty much said what I wanted to say with regard to the agreement that we had. We got the funding, the $500,000 funding monies from the county with the stipulation that we actually developed the East Ranch, which is about 40 acres for a recreational facility. And Vice President Weigold noted that there have been 2 significant studies, the last one in 2009. So I've mentioned in the past that I actually attended the September 2010 meeting of the Pros Commission when the architect that had been hired to develop the plans for the East Ranch presented these plans, very detailed, very well drawn up. We paid him for $35,000 for that. And that was 11 years ago. And obviously none of that has been followed through on. So I understand folks' concern about, well, we need a restroom before we move forward. I wanted to ask Monty if he could clarify something for me. You said we barely slid by with phase 1 of, I would imagine, the East Ranch improvements without building a dog park. So are you saying that you've had a discussion with folks at the planning department with regard to what we're going to be doing on the East Ranch?
Mr. Soto?
I think I might have misspoke there. I did not mean to say dog park.
Okay, go ahead.
What I meant was, when I'm talking about, 4 or 5 years ago when I was getting phase 1 of the project, which was the parking lot and the dog park and the grading and the infrastructure. When we were getting that permitted, what I meant to say was the county almost required us at the last minute to add in a bathroom to the project. Right. But as I mentioned, based on the building code and the only use at that time with the phase 1 project was a dog park, and the dog park is not specifically listed as an occupancy that requires a bathroom in the building code. Therefore, we were able to argue our way out of installing a bathroom at that time. But again, the county made it very clear, any additional use that you guys want to have at this facility will require a bathroom.
Yeah. Okay, Monty. Well, I appreciate that. So what is phase 1 of this project? That's, if I understand what you said, that's been submitted or at least presented to the planning department.
sorry,
It's
phase
been
one,
executed already.
yeah, it's completed. It's the parking lot, the infrastructure, the grading, and the dog park. That's phase one.
Okay.
So
all right,
phase one
thank-
is complete.
Phase one is already done. So I guess my concern is the fact that, so here we were, and as Carlos said, with regard to developing the recreational facilities on the East Ranch, after he very accurately noted that we got this funding, the $500,000 from the county 20 years ago, with the stipulation that we would provide recreational facilities on that 40 acres. And so as Carlos said, quote, at some point. So I'm figuring, well, here it is 20 years later, and all we have there is a parking lot and a dog park. I think we probably don't have a lot of monies available right now. Maybe we're going to get some grant funding to actually build out the East Ranch. But right now, it seemed it would be more important to do grant funding for upgrading the wastewater plant. But getting back to this particular project, since it's been 20 years and all we have on the East Ranch is a parking lot that costs $304,000, if I'm not mistaken, and a dog park. And I understand, let me say this. I really admire the work that Kitty Connolly has done as executive director of FFRP. And I totally understand her wishing to pursue having the restroom so we can ultimately develop the recreational facilities that we would hope would be happening on the East Ranch. But what I'm saying is it's been 20 years since we got the funding, and the stipulation was provide recreational facility. I know I'm being redundant here, but I don't see in the near future what plans we're going to be pursuing because we have other obligations with regard to our finances. And that's pretty much what I have to say. And I understand what Monty is saying, that the county is requiring that we build a restroom before we move any further. Well, once I see what it is that we are going to build out there, once we as a board see where the funding is going to come from to build all those recreational facilities. And I seem to recall when the gentleman, the architect, presented the plans that he had back in September of 2010, he said it was a 10-year project and it would probably cost, and mind you, this is 2010 dollars, that it was going to cost $100,000 a year for 10 years, in other words, $1 million. So I'd first like to know, before we commit to this bathroom, what the plans are and how we're going to fund them. That's what I have to say right now. And maybe I'll have something more to say later, but there we are. And by the way, Haley, it's really good to see you today.
Thank you, Director Farmer. Mr. Niffen, your hand was up next.
Yeah, I just figured I should weigh in. I'm a little frustrated, and so I'm going to try to temper my words. But it's interesting to listen to everybody's perception of the reality that's existed for the last 20 years. They've made lots of studies. There's lots of paperwork. There's lots of people remembering it was this way and that way. I have a different reality than some people, and my reality is based on the fact that I've been living it for 20 years, right? We made a plan. You were supposed to have horses on the ranch. Nope, plan was wrong. We changed that. You're not supposed to have any hardscape on that ranch. No hardscape whatsoever. So how they're going to put anything else there that may require that bathroom, it's a little uneasy. I'm not sure about that. We made the bathroom because we didn't have anything else to do. It's 2019. We're sitting in the pros commission. We got nothing. What are we going to do? We're going to put some picnic tables there. We can't until we get the bathroom. Well, let's make a design for the bathroom and see if that's what the people want to do. That's all it was. Kitty Conley said General Weigel brought this project. He did not. The Pros Commission brought the project. We're the ones that decided that this was the next step in moving forward on the project. We did not say we were moving forward. We were just making a plan to see if that's what we were going to do. And that's where we are right now. We haven't done anything else than that. And now we're trying to say, oh, this is this really important thing. We have something else that may be more important than this really important thing. I would suggest focusing on the things that can make people's lives better today and not worried about the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Niffen. Director Gray.
Thank you, President Steidel. I'm listening to a theme here that has been stated by many people, actually, from all over the spectrum, as it were. We have a plan. We have plans. We've been making plans for this East Ranch for us, as Mr. Director Farmer says, 20 years. We have no budget for capital budget for recreation. Never have had one. Never will, unless some revenue source comes up that the public agrees it wants to pay to develop this park. We can keep making plans, and we can say that, tell the county we're going to develop this park someday. But as long as we do not have a dedicated new revenue source for the park, it's not going to get developed. And it brings me back to the strategy we follow, if you can call it a strategy at this point, is when grants come up, we get a grant and see what we can do with it. It's kind of like you're trying to cross a river on rocks, and you got a couple of rocks, you jump to one rock and you jump to the next rock, and you've gotten so far, the next jump you're underwater. And that's kind of what we're doing with going from grant to grant. I think I would have wanted to see, I would have wanted to see before today some plan, if it was possible, for paying for this restroom without going into reserves, and we have not come up with one. What we have now with this grant, I think, is like, it's kind of like a 50% off sale on something that we don't really have a use for. In the near future, in the foreseeable future, there's no funding for any further development of the ranch on the horizon, over the horizon. We haven't solved that problem. So I think we're talking about something that is, necessary, yes, necessary for future development, but not enough. We don't have the money for it. I don't want to dip into reserves. There's too many other things we need to spend that money on, or might have to need to spend that money on. And we're being essentially reactive to a grant proposal, money that's not free, money that is going to encumber us, as you pointed out. I just don't see the wisdom of doing this at this point.
Thank you. I want to put a perspective out there, because I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out if there's some way that somehow we're reaching some kind of satisfaction to two sides of the equation. And part of it has to do with an idea that Vice President Howell had put forward in terms of being able to satisfy the effects of the $177,000 to the conversation that we had already had regarding the skate park. And that was well received by the directors, and we voted on that, and it was supported. And if we want to talk in an equivalency, we're looking at a surplus here of 173,000, which is right in line with the same kind of commitment that we were considering relative to the skate park. Now, the other piece to the equation is that although the bathroom is, a cold cement entity that would sit next to a dog park, what it does is carry the promise of something for recreation for all of the community, not just a subset of the community, but all of the community and all ages of the community. And frankly, the grading had already taken place out on the East Ranch. So the idea that a soccer field could be used by folks in the community rather than being over at the park currently and paying the county potentially for use of that, I can't I have not verified that. I'm not sure that that's the case. But anything else that goes on there, there's a fee that's paid and a reservation that's made. So that is a possibility. So the other piece to it is that Vice President Howe's suggestion of the 177,000 as a set aside for the skate park, that could certainly be handled by resolution as a commitment, so that we would establish something as a reserve builder toward it, because in reality, I imagine the fundraising will still go on for a while to be able to satisfy the group's needs. So that amount of money, in my mind at least, would be something that would be built toward, but committed by resolution as a total amount. We can pass a resolution here that sets an equivalency of funds for the bathroom and be able to put in place the jump off point that we have to expand the recreational facilities for the community as a whole, which I think is something that needs to be thought of. We're kind of driven towards a subset, and it's very kid specific, and that's great. I'm in support of that. Here's another opportunity for kids in the community, and it has to do with having a soccer field, or it has to do with, you know, putting in an exercise station run that families can use together. Either one of those would have some commitment of funds associated with them, but nominal amounts of money, especially at soccer field where we've already done grading on the site. And I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of anything else that would have to happen to make that available soccer. So I think that we can't pass the resolutions today, obviously, and that's a part of our legal process. And the community needs to understand that. And the reason that the wording happened and the agenda the way it did today is until we get to a point of having made a decision and asking for a resolution to implement it, but that can't happen in that kind of mechanism. So my point for conversation is treating these in an equivalency that, you know, potentially we have something that we can put in place immediately as far as the bathroom is concerned, that the skate park will continue to build toward its funding needs for that, and that by resolution we could also commit ourselves to that $177,000 and build towards that over time, so that it isn't an immediate impact to the general fund. So that's kind of the information I'm putting out on the table. Vice President Howell.
Well, first of all, I couldn't agree more with everything that you've said, President Steidel. I think you stated the case very well. I think that, and I just want to clarify, well, two things. First of all, I do want to let the folks out there who can't see how many folks there are in the audience that right now, in addition to our 14 panelists, we have 22 folks from the public watching. So again, I just love all these people attending. It's wonderful. I want to make very clear to our friends supporting the skate park that what is at issue today, this is not an either or situation. This isn't either a bathroom or a skate park. The board has already been very clear in its support of the skate park. And as President Steidel just mentioned, I think as we go forward, we will see further. But if there's any doubt, all you have to do is go back into our minutes and review the motions of support that the board has already provided. So this is not, we are not deciding against the skate park. This is nothing to do, and this in fact has nothing to do with the skate park at all. This has to do with whether we let the Prop 68 funds just go and not try to apply, or whether we continue with the plan, which is already in place, to go forward with a restroom on the East Ranch, as was recommended by the Pros Commission. And so I think that that is really all that we're doing today. And the only other thing I would like to take just a little bit, I understand Director Gray's concern regarding our reserves, but two things to point out. It is not the case that we have not budgeted for recreation. PROS had it had approximately $20,000 in the current budget, and it had the money that was budgeted for the restroom design, not to mention the $300,000 to move the dog park. Recreation is part of the district's portfolio. And now it is true, we do not have separate funding for recreation, and that it must come from the general fund. So we also, everyone needs to be clear about that. The restroom will not be competing with any of our water or sewer infrastructure for funds. We need to be very clear about that. The competition for funds will be between recreation, fire safety, and street lighting. I believe those are the three that we are not covered by our enterprise funds. So those are three things which we have to deal with a limited amount of money. In my opinion, this is a good use of the, we're going to get the restroom for about half price, even though we have to initially commit the 300-something thousand just so that we can make the application. So again, this is not anything to do with the skate park. What we just determined is we could not get the funding in place for the skate park in time for the application. It does not mean that we don't want to go forward with it. So in that regard, so I do support everything that President Steidel said. Anyways, I'll shut up now.
All right, Director Gray.
I want to comment on a couple of points that were raised. First of all, and I think I asked Ms. Duffield about this at the last meeting about the relationship of the general fund reserves to other funds, to the enterprise funds. And I believe her answer, which she doesn't have to go through it again, is that those reserves are available to the enterprise funds in the nature of loans. And in fact, some money is loaned to the enterprise funds at this point. So to support capital needs in the enterprise funds, the general fund reserves do have a role. There is a relationship there. And so we have to be careful about saying, oh, it's just about, of course, just taking it from fire protection to me is somewhat serious too. But it's not just about street lighting, fire protection, and the fact that there's a recreation budget doesn't mean we have a dedicated capital budget that is not dependent on grants, because we basically have used grants as they've come by for work on recreation, and there's no real significant budget other than that. And the soccer fields, as I understand it, we are not just on the verge of being able to use them, we have to irrigate them. And as I understand the plan that was approved back in 2009 or whatever it was, the idea was to use recycled water from the sewer plant, probably tertiary treatment, and have it pumped over there somehow and irrigate those fields. That's a major capital project. That's, I mean, tertiary treatment is going to be here anyway, probably because of regulations, but to get to plumb that basically is not a cheap thing. So nothing that's planned for the park in that plan is inexpensive and can be done without some kind of extra money that we do not have now. So I go back to my point. I'd like to make a motion. I don't know if this is appropriate at this point. Make a motion that we.
Director Dean still had something.
Okay, so let the rest of the people speak. But I think we need to clarify that this is not this is necessary but not sufficient. Let's say that to have a restroom to develop the park. We're still not ready to develop the park. Thank you.
Director Dean.
Okay, I just want a clarification on several things. Okay, so I'm looking at the agenda packet and I'm looking at the very detailed financial site plan that Monty Soto provided for us. And this to me looks like the kind of detail we would have needed to move forward for this grant for the skate park. And we did not have that detail because there were so many unknowns when we were looking at that plan in November. And we needed to have that exact dollar amount the way we do here. Also, we now know that this is a reimbursement grant. This is not money coming up front to us. This is money that's metered out as the project goes, with some withheld at the end. And I don't think that was understood in November. I think many people in the public, including some of us, thought that if we got this grant, we would be getting a check of $177,000, and that is not the case. To me, what you are offering, President Steidel, is that if we accept this grant for the restroom, we are willing to obligate an equivalent amount to the skate park over time, which would be the amount of money that they would have gotten for the grant, but they would not have gotten a check up front. And we are offering to help with that same amount of money as a grant. I believe that's what we're talking about here, correct? We know that.
Yes.
Okay, we know that we have to have a bathroom on the East Ranch in order to do anything, soccer fields or anything, and that this bathroom is not for the dog park. This is for future projects at the East Ranch for the kids in this community, as well as for adults. Am I correct in all of that? I just want verification that this is, I want my thought process out here. So I just want verification that what I'm saying is accurate. Do I understand everything correctly?
From my perspective, yes.
Okay, that's all I had to say. Thank you. I think Mr. Niffen wants to argue.
Right, yes, and in fact, he had tried to send a message. Mr. Niffen?
If that's what we're discussing at this point right now, that is a step in good faith on this board's behalf. I sympathize with where we're at for this whole picture, and that is a solution. Or I don't know if it's a solution, but there you go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Niffen. And Director Farmer.
Thank you, President Steidel. I'm probably just going to reiterate what I said earlier, but also add on to the fact that it appears, even though we've used different terminology, that Director Gray and I, and we don't always agree on everything, but we appear to be in some agreement with regard to not necessarily spending money on this restroom at this time, because we don't really know how to pursue further with the recreational facilities that are ultimately going to be built on the East Ranch, because we don't have the monies to do so. And I would be interested at some point, maybe at an upcoming pros meeting and then a regular board meeting, to present what projects we are going to be, like I said, developing on the East Ranch and how we're going to pay for them. I know I already said that before, but this is an important issue. And so with regard to the restroom, funding for the restroom is something we need to take into consideration, because we fund that restroom. How much further down the road will it be before we even begin to do anything else on the East Ranch, because we don't have the money to do so. So that's my statement. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll finish my comments by saying that I think historically boards tend to problem solve and address issues in an immediacy, and don't always have the opportunity to think in long-term effects or long-term needs. And I would also say that I think it's important to have this bathroom in place if we can find a way to satisfy a lot of people in the community on both sides of the equation about it, because we may not have this kind of opportunity to put towards a bathroom in the future. And we need to think about the future. We may not have, a Class A soccer field just by putting a bathroom on there, but that doesn't mean to say that that site can't be used in that manner. I mean, before irrigation, before anything, you work towards a goal of a finished product, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing on everything or on anything. we can work towards something and provide the opportunity for the community as a whole, for adults and kids. And that's my position. And I had interrupted you earlier, Director Gray, regarding the motion you wanted to make.
I'll make, and we'll start from there, that the board decline to instruct staff to apply for this Prop 68 grant.
All right. And I'll second that.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, Haley, roll call, please.
Yes, Director Gray,
Aye, but Vice President Howell is raising his hand.
Point of order. I was asking for the floor. Sorry. I'd like an amendment. I would like to delete the word decline from the motion. I move to amend the motion by deleting the word decline.
And is there a second for that?
Okay, nobody's going to second that either. Okay.
All right. Again, roll call.
okay. Director Gray,
Aye.
President Steidel,
No.
Director Dean,
No.
Director Farmer,
We're voting to
Decline.
decline. Yes.
and Vice President Howell.
No.
Right. So on the motion to decline the application for Prop 68 funds, the vote is 2-3, 2 aye, 3 nay. All right, Vice President Howell.
I move that the board instruct staff to proceed with the Prop 68 grant for use as to support the restroom on the East Ranch.
All right, is there a second to that?
Can we also include the resolution about the money towards the skate park?
We would have to address the resolutions separately and bring it forward in statements of the two resolutions, probably at the next board meeting, and take action on them at that time, I believe is the correct approach. Mr. Carmel, unless I'm incorrect in that.
No, that's very accurate. We can't do that today.
Right.
Okay.
So do I have a second for Vice President Howell's motion? Director Dean. All right. So may we have a roll call, Haley, please?
Could we hear the motion again, please?
Yeah, the motion is from Director Howell, and he moved that the board instruct staff to proceed for the Proposition 68 grant to support the restroom on the East-West Ranch.
Or on the East Ranch.
East Ranch. Okay, Director Howell,
Aye.
Director Dean,
Aye.
Director Farmer,
No.
Director Gray,
No.
President Steidel.
Aye. All right, so on the motion to direct staff to make application on the Prop 68 funds for use in the bathroom on the East Ranch, the vote is 3-2, 3 ayes, 2 nays. And as part of that process and the application, it would be necessary for the board to address a resolution that would accompany the packet. And so at the next upcoming board meeting, I would assume that that would be an action that would be on on the agenda. And I would also go out on a limb a little bit in terms of suggesting that a resolution would also be brought forward regarding that commitment on the 177K toward the skate park. But those details will address relative to the appropriate board meeting that's upcoming. I'm hesitating on that because, of course, by that point, we will be voting in a new president also. So I'm not in a position necessarily to be defining all of that with resolution. So that would be the forward motion. Director Farmer?
President Stidel, and this appears to be perhaps your final action, so to speak, as president of the board. So thank you. So are you saying, hopefully I understood you correctly, that at some point in the relatively near future, like maybe one of the 2 December meetings, that we will be again discussing assisting in funding through Prop 68 monies, the skate park?
No, not through Prop 68. On the basis of the suggestion that Vice President Howell had made at the skate park meeting, that in good faith that the CCSD would set aside a reserve amount and work towards establishing a contribution of 177K to skate park.
Okay, from our reserves then.
Well, built over time, yes.
All right, thank you.
So that being the case, we have taken action on the business for the day. Unless there's anything additionally that any board members have regarding this agenda item. I do not see anything additionally. All right. With that, then I will call for adjournment of this special meeting. So thank you all for your time, early time this morning. Very much appreciated. And we'll see you all next month. Thank you.
Thank you.